Now, a motion to deduct 13% derivation from the $1 billion approved by the National Economic Council to fight Boko Haram caused rowdiness in the House of Representatives on Thursday. The money is supposed to be drawn from the excess crude account, and House members disagreed over the propriety of the money sought by President Muhammadu Buhari. Let's now bring in a security expert, Remi Adeyemo. He's here in the studios with us here to talk more about this. Thank you very much indeed for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first, let me start by asking, were you surprised by what we witnessed at the floor of the Green Chambers on Thursday over this deduction?
Well, thank you for having me on this program. Whether I was surprised with regards to what happened on the floor, I wouldn't say so. Knowing fully well what leadership, is in this country, I wouldn't actually be surprised. But at the same time, I would say I'm surprised that we are haggling over, the security, national security, financing. So this is quite worrisome.
Well, but, the thought within some quarters is that so much already has been expended in terms of, providing security, especially in that region. And now about $1 billion we are talking about. There is also the feeling that there is lack of clarity as to what this $1 billion would be used for. What are we using $1 billion for? No clarity about it. Doesn't that worry you too?
Yeah, this is why I did mention initially that I wasn't surprised that we have all this haggling over the issue of $1 billion for prosecuting the Boko Haram menace. Like you rightly said, I mean, a lot of, fund has been put into this, and we've seen tremendous progress of the security forces. If in order climb, when you have to vote security votes, usually you commence with what we call the threat assessment. Current threat assessment is what will enable security experts to talk about what are the mitigating measures that we need to put in place. What do we really have now? What do we lack? And all these things are quantified, and if they have gone through those processes and the House of Assembly see all those details, well marked out, well stipulated, I see no reason why there should be, a kind of doubt as to whether the $1 billion will be adequately spent for the, Boko Haram menace or not. But like you said, now it looks like somewhere there is no transparency.
Yes.
And if there is no transparency, it's obvious that people will have to, kind of
especially put into consideration that the government had earlier said that Boko Haram had been, almost decimated within that area. So if you have almost decimated, the threat, why, vote this sort of, huge, amount again?
Again, you see, this is what I'm saying about not being serious and playing politics all the time with vital national issues. And when you talk about national security, to me, is vital. That statement, of course, has been adduced to this government at a stage that Boko Haram has been decimated. And I think, the reality here is when you are fighting terrorism, terrorism is not something, it's not a conventional warfare. You don't really know when it's going to end until it ends. And it takes a longer period. Even when you think you have actually reined them in, you might still have so many years ahead of you trying to, keep them in check. You can see this situation as it's, doling out in Afghanistan. The Americans have been there for donkey years. So terrorism is not something you just defeat today, and you think that's the end of it. As a matter of fact, the more progress you make over terrorists, the more you get yourself, properly prepared. Because these people...
It's a continuous fight.
They metamorphose, all right? They change strategy, and these are not conventional, militants. They normally hit and run. And usually their victims are the, soft targets. the people, the population. So this is why I'm thinking that, you know, it's not a question of the 1 billion. The money may not even be that much to build up our security to the modern status.
But there has to be some form of transparency
There has
as
to be
how, you know, these monies are,
it's going to be
expended.
spent. Exactly. But I want to make maybe reference to the the vice president's explanation on this actual 1 billion or something. The other day when he mentioned that, look, the $1 billion they're talking about is not only for Boko Haram, it's for the national security outfit. I hope that it is. If it is, then of course you and I will agree that 1 billion naira, dollars, sorry, is not sufficient to build up all our security outfit, which we have neglected for decades. Ordinary policeman on the road, you see how he looks. Go to his barrack, look how he looks. What weapon is he carrying? Look at all these bandits. They are far ahead of our security in terms of equipment and, modernization.
All right. Now, there is a sense in which, because more recently, we had, attacks in the, like an upscale in the attacks in the northern region. What exactly do you think that is happening? Is it some sort of, I don't want to use the word, laxity. What exactly do you think, went wrong at some point when, these attacks started to rear their heads again in very quick, succession?
Well, first of all, I think I sympathize with all the victims of this attack. And obviously, it shows that, our government, I wouldn't want to blame the security apparatus because the government actually is the one that put in place this security apparatus. Our government has been lacking over decades in providing adequate security for the population of this country. You see, I have always seen it, and I've said it on most occasions, that we have an attitude of fire brigade approach to very serious issues. A security of a nation is something you build consistently. It's a dynamic thing. Recently, in fact, when you say recently, I will even go far back as almost a decade or more ago in Nigerian security. The degradation of our security since that time, Boko Haram came in. Subsequently, you have all these herdsmen killings. You also have the cultists that are growing up in almost all our universities. You have, kidnapping going on everywhere. You have almost, armed robbery. And then when you look at this upspring, these are new crimes. These are virtually crimes we are never used to in the 70s. So obviously, there is sophistication of criminal activities in the country. Why is it that it is so? It's just because criminal activity always reign where the ground is fertile. And the activities of the security men also, the activities need to be sophisticated as well. Exactly. The equipment, the training, and everything has to be, if we have actually, been proactive right from time, I think the scale of insecurity we are witnessing today will have been highly minimized.
All right, security expert Remi Adeyemo, thank you very much indeed for coming to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right.